Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to make this turtle, and you're going to need your 24 peg loom, your needle, scissors, your loom nick hook, a small gauge. You only need about 4 pegs of any small gauge loom you have, and the yarn colors of your choices. You can choose a color for your top shell, and a color for your bottom shell, and a color for your legs, heads, and tail. We're going to start by making our turtle shell. We're using the 24 peg loom with a drawstring cast on. You can use a number 4 yarn. The Red Heart Super Savers work great for this. And you want to leave a little bit of a tail so we can sew up the shell at the end. So make your slip knot, put it on your peg. Okay, now for a drawstring cast on, you're just going to weave in and out. You go behind peg 1 and just weave in and out between all your pegs until you get to the end. Okay, so you're in front of peg 24. We're going to go behind peg 1 and bring it in front of peg 2. And you need to push these down a little bit so you have a little bit of space to lay the yarn. Okay, so we skipped peg 1, and so from peg 2 on around, we're going to lay the yarn flat. And then if you have 2 strings of yarn, bring the bottom one over, which should be every other peg. You're going to okay, get that last peg. Okay, so we're back to peg 1. Go ahead and push your yarn down a little all the way around. Okay, so on peg 1 we don't have any yarn on it yet. We're going to just lay this yarn over it. Just lay this yarn over it, and we're going to just start E-wrapping at peg 2. And I just want you to see what I did there. Just lay the yarn over peg 1, come behind peg 2, and then just E-wrap. Stop at peg 24. Peg 1 still only has 1 strand of yarn. So just bring your bottom loops over. It doesn't matter which direction you go on this. I am right-handed, but I don't know if I'm knitting right-handed or left-handed. I just particularly like to work away from my hand and not towards my hand. So I normally just go in this direction. And I think some people who are right-handed might work that way. This is just what works for me. Okay, so we did an E-wrap, and I guess you'd consider that row 1, but I don't really count rows when I make these circles. And also, you know, scrubbies are made the same kind of way. I don't really count rows when I make scrubbies. I just E-wrap until my fabric gets long enough to reach over here, from this side to over here. So I'll show you that. I think it's going to be about 13 rows if you feel like you really need to count, but I'll show you in the end that how you'll know when you're there. So we're just going to E-wrap, like I said, about 13 rows, or until your fabric reaches over to the other side. Okay, so when you have 13 rows, your fabric should reach over to these pegs without having to stretch it. It should just a little bit. It should comfortably reach over here. I mean, that is stretching just a little, but not just like pulling it to try to make it fit. So if it fits over there, then your fabric is long enough, and I did end up doing 13 rows. So now we're going to do a drawstring bind off. So wrap your yarn around, and we want to leave a little extra for a tail to sew it up with. So snip your yarn, and we're just going to pull our yarn through every peg all the way around. Oops. stretch out your fabric. You don't have to do this a lot on the E-route, but just to make sure your stitches are stretched out some. Okay, we're gonna close up our drawstring. We're going to close up our drawstring on both ends, creating a egg shape. Okay, so take one end and thread your needle. And just take your needle and just close up your end so it doesn't come open. Notice we're not stuffing this with any stuffing. Ever how you're comfortable closing it up, making a knot somewhere so that it is not going to come open. And you can go around that a couple of times if you like. I usually do twice. And I feel like that's secure. If you want to weave in and out and go around or close up your hole more, that's up to you. Okay, now I'm going to turn this around and take my other end. Do the same thing. Just close it up. Well, okay, then I always just check and see which of my strings is longest. And it's definitely this one. So we want to take our fabric here and get the two middles lined up. So you should have a string on this side and a string on this side. And you're kind of lining your middle holes up together. Then I'm going to take my string and I'm going to take it down through this. I'm going to thread this side. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to take this thread all the way through to the other side. And I'm just going to tie these a couple of times to get a good tight knot. Okay, so I tied it more than a couple of times, but then I'm going to snip off my, no, I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to I'm going to thread both ends through my needle. Okay, and then I'm just going to make some stitches around to secure these two sides flat. So just sew your two sides together. There's not a right way and a wrong way to do this. You just kind of want to make sure you are going all the way around and not sewing back and forth on one side. Okay, so after you've sewed all the way around and you feel like your sides are connected there, they don't have to be connected all the way out here, just around the center part. You want that part connected. Decide which is going to be your top and which is going to be your bottom, and this side is definitely going to be my bottom. So I'm going to make a knot in here. Knot off my yarn, and I might do that a couple of times. Tighten that knot down, and then I'm going to just run my yarn in and just kind of push it around and come out somewhere random. And snip my yarn off. Okay, and this is the side that I want for my top because it's the prettiest side. And you want to make two of these, any color you like. One is going to be your top shell and one is going to be your bottom shell. So make two. Next we're going to make our turtle head. So whatever color you're making your head and legs, get that color. And we're going to do a cast on with drawstring cast on. And so we're going to only cast on 12 pegs behind the front peg and weave in and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I am going to double check myself. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. So just push it down just enough that you can lay some yarn across there. And any place that you have 2 strands of yarn, bring the bottom one over the top. Alright, now we're ready for row 1. So you want to give a little bit of space there for some yarn. So you're back at peg 1, so come around the back of peg 1 and lay your yarn over peg 2, and we're going to U-knit. Some people might like to flat knit on this, but I find that flat knits get too tight for me, so I U-knit, and I just try not to do those too tight. Wrap your yarn halfway around the peg, bring your loop over, and go to the next peg and do the same thing. And then that does look strange, but we just lay our yarn over it and bring it on over. Okay, and that was row 1. And we're just going to keep doing this back and forth. U-knit for 14 rows, then we're going to decrease. So if you want to just pause your video and U-knit back and forth for 14 rows on these 12 pegs, then we'll meet back up. Okay, so now we're finishing up our 14th row, and we're going to decrease. Okay, so push those down some, and we're going to decrease this side. The 14 rows created the turtle's head, and so now we're going to decrease and make the turtle's neck. Okay. So this is row 15. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and decrease again. Bring those loops over on both ends. Okay, we're going to just knit back. You can tell our fabric's kind of decreasing there. So just tighten up this yarn. And let's just decrease one more time. Alright, and let's just go back again. Okay, so let's just go make another pass, and this will be rows 20 and 21. Okay, I think that was row 21. This will be row 22. Sorry for the confusion. Okay, now that we're on row 22, let's look. We have some head and some we decreased for the neck. So we're going to call this done and leave a tail so we can sew our head to the shell. Do a drawstring cast off. Stretch your fabric out and pull your ends. Okay, so that makes our head, and then this part here will be the neck. So we're going to sew up the head and neck. Okay, just grab stitches from each side, connecting them together, and this will be on the bottom of your turtle, but you want to try to make it clean as possible. before we close this up, let's stick some stuffing down in there for the head. And just push some stuffing in there. A lot of times I have to use a little stick to Alright, just get your head, as much stuffing in there as you want without busting your seams and seeing, you know, all your stuffing on the outside. Put a little in there for the neck. And then just continue to sew it up. Alright, so then just tie a knot to secure it. Okay, and you just want to leave your longest strand, so you can just snip off your short strand, and this will be your turtle head. Just shape it up. Okay, so just lay that to the side with your 2 shell pieces, and now we're going to make a leg. For the legs, we're going to do a drawstring cast on. We're going to cast on 8 pegs. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're going to U-knit 14 rows. So when you finish your cast on, make sure you loop around peg 1 and start your U-knit on peg 2. And after a few rows, remember to undo your slip knot. So go ahead and U-knit 14 rows, and then we'll come back to the video. Okay, we're about to finish up our 14th row for the legs, or for one leg. Okay, we're going to do a drawstring bind off, and you want to leave enough to sew up your leg, or either to sew that end of the leg to your shell. here's leg number 1. I'll stretch out your stitches there to make the length of your leg. Okay, draw up your ends. So now we just need to stitch our leg up, and we don't need to use stuffing. Okay. Alright, so got your arms, your legs stitched up, so just go ahead and make a couple of knots to secure that. And you're going to need to make 4 legs, and then cut off one of your strands, the shortest one. Okay, lay that to the side. And the last thing we need to do is make a tail. To make an I-cord on this would end up too big for this little bitty turtle. So if you have a fine gauge loom, we can make an I-cord on that for a little tail. I'll do you a little drawstring cast on, and we're going to do it for 4 pegs. So make sure you have 3 pegs on this side, and we're just going to E-wrap around 3 more pegs, so you're on 4 pegs. You put your slip knot on 1 and E-wrapped around 3. So then bring this one back around the back and around the front, and just go ahead and bring it to the front and hold it like with your thumb here. And just to show you what I did there, again, I put the slip knot on the 4th peg, E-wrap the 3rd peg, 2nd peg, and 1st peg. Just push those down, and then bring your yarn around the back of all 4 pegs, the front of all 4 pegs, and around the back of all 4 pegs again, and to the front. So just hold that there while you bring your bottom loops over the top. And we just need to make a little tail, so we're just gonna keep doing that until we get a little bit of a tail back there. Push those down, and again around the front and around the back. Uh-oh. keep doing this until we get a little bit of length back there. See how it's growing a little bit? Just push them down around the front and around the back. Okay. And just we're starting to get a little bit of a tail, but we want a little more than that. Okay. It's growing a little more. We want it just a little bit longer than that because we'll need to sew part of it into the shell, and we want to have enough that sticks out. Alright, so we got a good bit of tail there. So you can either go one more time or you could just cast off. I'm going to go one more time. Okay, so I'm going to call that good and bring my yarn back down here to the first peg and just cut it. And we just need to do a drawstring bind off. Alright. So just pull that tight, pull your other end tight, and you have a little bit of a tail here. And one end might look a little messy, and that's the end we'll sew inside the shell. The end that looks nice, we want to keep it looking nice. So let's thread our needle. And we're going to run our thread down the center of our I-cord. And we want to make sure that our tail keeps the length and doesn't draw up. Okay, so down here we're going to tie a knot to secure that yarn, but again we don't want to do it tight and draw up the length of our tail, so just be gentle in making that knot. Okay, and then cut off your shortest strand. Alright, so now we've made a tail, one head, 4 legs, and 2 shells, whatever color you want your turtles to be. Okay, and we take our head and we sew it to our shell, the bottom shell, and your legs, let's sew them on. Here's my 4th leg. So you just sew the head and all the legs and the tail the same way. We're going to sew them onto the turtle, and this is the bottom shell, so we want our legs to the pretty side up. The part where we sewed together, we want it facing down. So just decide where you want your leg there, and let's just sew it on. Make sure you have enough leg on the bottom shell, but enough out that you still have the same amount of length of all 4 legs. So just sew that on real quick. Just keep sewing till you've got that legs really secured on there, especially if you're going to be letting children play with this. You want it to be secure, not come apart on them. And just sew it up until you're comfortable with it being on there good, like your edges are all sewed down. I think mine's good, and I hope yours is too. So just make you a knot, and you might want to do that once or twice. I always probably do my knots a little overboard because I just want to make sure it is secure. Okay. Run your yarn through there, and then you can just snip that. Alright, we still have to sew our tail on. So decide where you want your tail. And just keep sewing it until you feel like that's secure enough. It's not going to come off while someone's playing with it. Alright, and just run your thread, knot it off, get it secure in there, and then just run it through somewhere. Pull it through. You can snip it or not. That's going to be covered up. So we have our head, our four legs, and our little tail. And now we have our shell that we're going to sew on here. It's looking cute already. So I'm going to sew my shell on with this yellow, because I'm going to come through here and just stitch it around, grab this and pull it in. So I'm going to get some yellow yarn. And I'm going to grab a stitch here. I'm just going to start right here at this leg. You can start anywhere that's comfortable for you. And I'm just going to pull this all the way through. Oh, I didn't mean to leave such a long tail. Just pull it through and go ahead and just knot that to tie it. Alright, now get your top shell situated how you want it. And you're just going to grab a stitch underneath on your top layer and grab a stitch on your bottom shell. Oops. Okay, and we're just going to do that all the way around, but we're going to leave a little hole when we get to the back to the tail, or back to this side. We're going to leave a little space to stick a little bit of stuffing in there. Okay, so now we're almost back to where we started. We have a little hole here, and we're just going to put in some stuffing to give him a little bit of a fluff there. He probably doesn't need a whole lot. Alright, so that's good. Now we're just going to finish sewing him up. Uh-oh. Somewhere or another I picked up another string. Okay, so... now once we get past this leg, we'll have it completely closed up. Too much string here, but alright, so now we're back where we started. I want to just make sure that's closed well. And check around all the way around your turtle and just make sure that it is closed up good. You don't have any gaps or holes. And if you left a super long tail like I did, which was unnecessary, if you find you have a hole over here, you could just run your needle all the way through, pull your yarn out, stitch it up, and then run it to anywhere else that you see you might have a little hole. I think mine's closed up well enough. Just double checking. Okay, so I'm going to knot mine off. And I'm going to put a couple little knots just because I want to feel secure about it. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that knot is tight. Then I'm going to take my yarn, needle, and just run it through under here and come out the other side somewhere. And I might even do that a couple of times. Just pick another, not in the same hole, but in another hole. And just run it through. Okay, that's going to be the last time. Okay, now I'm going to snip that yarn off. Shape my turtle up. His little legs. Stretch him out. Shape him up. Alright, he is so cute. Now let's see how we can, he just needs some eyes. So I'm going to decide where I want to put my eyes. maybe about there and there. Just play around with it, make sure you get them where you're happy with them. Then I'm going to get me some black yarn, pull a little bit out. And thread my needle. Okay, so I'm going to come in from the bottom of my neck and push my needle up to where I want my eye to start. And I'm just going to come through, and I'm just leaving a little bit of a tail down there that I'll snip later. I want to see, I'm going to go across these stitches and bring my needle back in at the same hole my black yarn is in. I can move my pin then. Just pull that. Not super tight, but you don't want it to be loosey either. And just go through this 2 or 3 times till you get just a little bubble there for your eye. And then you can go over here, and we're going to go under and come up the other side of the eye, and then come across, and then put your needle back in the same hole this is in, and that's going to create your other eye. So you want to do that about 2 or 3 times. I think we did the other side 3, so I'm going to try to get that side 3 before it gets too bulky. Okay, that's 3 times each, and I kind of like those eyes. So I'm going to come back across into the same hole that my black yarn is in, and then just push it till that yarn comes out somewhere closer down the neck. Don't pull it too tight because you don't want your eyes to disappear. Just snip those off, and that black should just disappear into your neck there. And if they don't, you can just give it a little poke. So here is our turtle. He's got his little legs, and he's kind of puffy. So you can make these in all colors, different combinations. I hope you liked making him, and I hope you enjoy making them lots more in different colors and giving to children or whoever you might think they might like them. I also was thinking while I was making this that this could be done in cotton, a strand of cotton and a strand of scrubby, and make it a scrubby for either bath time or for dishes. They're just cute. Thank you, and I hope you will join me again on our next project, and let me know. I would love to see pictures of your turtles. Thank you.